Hey, I'm Michael Gibb from thefiddlershop.com, and today we're talking about Pirastro's Evah Pirazzi Green. They're not really called green, these were just the original ones, and they've recently come out with the gold options. But we're not talking about those today, we're talking about the greens. So these are fabulous strings. They're on the more expensive side. They're gonna run you about $85, $90 at the time of filming, okay? I know the prices change all the time. So when I filmed this, they were about $85. In the year, 2040, they'll probably be like $1,000 because they've already gone up like twice in my lifetime, or like they've doubled in price in my lifetime. So I still love them. They are very much on the brighter side. They're very much a soloist string. They have just a really clean and clear projection. I really love them. Some people think that they're too bright and they wish that they were warmer or had more of a complex sound. I hear you, but like, to each their own. So testing strings is a little bit of a dark art or a little bit of a wine palette. And so everybody's gonna have different results, especially based on what your violin needs, or if you want to correct the sound or double down. For people that have a warmer violin or a darker sounding instrument and wish that it was, brighter, clearer, Pirastros are a great option. But then again, people with a really bright sounding instrument might want to increase the brilliance even more. So whichever, to each their own. I don't judge. Don't judge. So, but I'm also going to try to prove a little bit scientifically about what we're hearing and show you sort of the frequency analysis of the strings. So what you need to know is, I think I've talked a lot about already, this kind of the description of what everybody says about these online, that they're very clean, clear, bright, powerful. I'm going to play for you so you can hear. Hopefully this is still at A440. So right there, I love that, the sound on the G string. It's a very direct sound. It just like slices through the air like a knife through hot butter. That's kind of gross to think about air being hot butter. Cold, soft, a hot knife through soft butter? Through butter? I don't know, is the butter frozen? What's the temperature of the butter? Nobody ever talks about that. To me, it's very clean, so it doesn't have that kind of the same kind of grittiness that you could be pessimistic and say it's a dirty, like a gritty sound. Some people perceive that as like a richness and a fullness and a lusciousness. For me, this is like a purer. It's like ringing a bell, or like chiming a glass, like a goblet or something. When you just like ring it, it's very bell like. I love then in the upper string, the middle strings, the D and the A. I love there's enough complexity. It's not the most complex or not the most interesting sound, but it's very clean, and I think it's well suited for this violin. I'm going to talk a minute about. I always recommend. Oh, I'm going to back up. This is the Fiddlerman Artist Violin, and I use this violin, the same violin, on all the videos about all the strings. So if you want, you can compare what the Evah Pirazzi's against all the other strings that I'm doing, because I'm using the same one, same bow. I'm using the Holstein 3-star bow. Links for those are in the video down here. Maybe if someday I'll be fancy and add them like up here. Isn't that cool? Wouldn't that be cool? I'd just be like up there. So anyways, these are the mediums. There are other gauges, and I don't recommend venturing into the world of different gauges. It's really like 99% of the time what you need is medium. That's what we recommend. Unless your violin has a problem, or if it's like it's not repaired well, maybe you'd want the lighter strings. If your violin just doesn't project well at all, maybe you'd want the heavy tension strings. But for the most part, your violin should be in working condition, and so you should get the mediums. There are other options to consider. The E string does come, of course, in like the ball end or the loop end. That's standard. But it also comes in a gold-plated or just the regular steel. And I recommend just get the steel. It's cheaper. If you get the gold-plated one, eventually you're just gonna wear all the gold-platedness off, and it's gonna be a steel string underneath it. At least for me and my violin, the gold E whistled a little bit too easily. I found that the steel E was just a little cleaner, but not a huge thing. I love on the inside of the packages, there's a little, maybe a warning label that says, I'm so happy I can't stop playing. And I really agree with it. Like when you put them on your instrument, they make you really happy because they have just like a vibrancy and a life to them that, I don't know, if you're coming from like a dominant or a cheaper string, I think you'll be very surprised by just the liveliness of the string. It takes, I don't know, a little bit of playing. These strings are a couple hours old, so they're broken in. It does take a little while to break them in. They sound a little metallic at first, but then they have a really, a lot of life to them. For me, now, this is where I'm gonna express my opinion. You can disagree. For me, I feel like they have a little bit of a short honeymoon. That it's very, very awesome, for the first, month, maybe. And then maybe you just get used to it. You start, getting a little not monotonous, but you start to get used to the sound, and you start, maybe the strings are just as good. Maybe you're just getting a little complacent. You need to work on your relationship with your strings. Dr. Phil said relationships take time. I don't think he says that, but so for me, they wear out just a little quickly, and so that's eventually why I stopped using them. But playing them again here on this today, I've sort of had a renewed love affair with Evah Pirazzi. Evah Pirazzi, the woman whose neck is perpetually stuck like this. Yeah. Anyways. So that is Evah Pirazzi greens. Did I talk about everything that I meant to? Oh, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play just the A and show you the frequency analysis. And so you can see if we hear any overtones or see if any of it scientifically makes sense. Here we go. All right, so what does all this mean? No, it's not a lie detector test. Really, I promise I practiced for 4 hours, honestly. No, you're lying. No, so the green waveform is just measuring time and amplitude, or it's measured in decibels, right? But this colorful graph, the orange and the yellows and the reds and purples and stuff, this is all measuring the frequency. And the brightness of each line is measuring the intensity, or actually it's also measuring the loudness of that frequency. And so it's displayed in these lines, these horizontal lines, because what we're hearing or what we're seeing is the overtone series. Yes, our favorite topic from Theory 101. No, thank you. I don't really love this stuff. But it's super interesting to see all this stuff we learned in theory actually in real life. I do think this graph is interesting because really what we're talking about when we're talking about color of these strings, if they are warm or bright, is the timbre. And this is all measurable by looking at how much of the harmonic series we're actually hearing. And our ears probably are the best judge of this at the end of the day. But I do think it's interesting to look at this chart and graph and see a little bit more scientifically what we're hearing. For instance, when I compare the Evah Pirazzis against the Kaplan Amos, maybe there was a little bit of user error or user difference in that I was playing the Evah Pirazzis a little louder. But I do think it's interesting that, for instance, you can see the second octave, the second overtone, significantly louder and clearer than on the Kaplan Amos. And also that fifth overtone, the C sharp, is incredibly more present. I think you can tell I was playing a little bit, maybe just slightly louder, because the decay, kind of where the notes trail off, they're ringing a little bit longer when in this example of the Evah Pirazzis versus the Kaplan Amos. Just in general, it looks like I can see more, I can hear more of the overtones from the Evah Pirazzi greens than the Kaplan Amos. I'm not sure if that means that therefore they are clearer or cleaner than Kaplan's, which we perceive to be warmer. And that was my experience with playing them, was that the Evah Pirazzis were clearer than the Kaplan Amos. So maybe I'm just reinforcing my belief already. I do think it's interesting. You can see there's a lot of room noise, there's an air conditioning running. That's what all this fuzziness down below the fundamental pitch was. So interesting stuff. A little bit of science there. I think in the future I will also start doing this with all the open strings, so we can see a little bit more if some strings react more significantly than just saying just the open A. So stay tuned for some more of that. All right, so that is Evah Pirazzi Green, or just regular, depending on what they call it. You can find the links for that below. I'd love to hear from you if you play Evah Pirazzi Greens, if you agree with me. Did you used to play Evah Pirazzis and you switched to something? Let me know, especially if your violin is dark and you were looking for something brighter, or if you have a brighter instrument and we're looking for something different. I love hearing all this information, and it helps everybody watching this and reading to give advice and hear what you found and what your results were. So talk to me in the comments, all right? You can find everything that the violin, the bow, the strings, everything's in the links. It's at fiddlershop.com. Appreciate you watching this. We'll see you next time.